Hello YouTube, it is Liam Hayth here, doing the first video of many, and we're going to start it off in a jet battle in my brand new ME163B, realistic of course. I am commentating over this in post-production, so I hope you will enjoy. Please sit back and I will tell you through everything that I'm doing as I thought of it. So, little thing you should know about me before we get started here is that I've only been playing War Thunder for 2 weeks, so I'm still relatively new to all the tactics, jet play, all of that kind of stuff. I went into this game solo, which is very unusual for me, as anyone from my live streams will know. So we're just going to start off here. I'm going to go straight into quite a steep climb, you'll notice, and start checking the horizon for any little black dots that could signify enemies. Let me know whether they're climbing or not, so I know quite how high I need to go. I'm probably going to aim for around 7k in a normal game. We'll see what happens here. Alright, so here you can see me going into the virtual cockpit. That is just to make sure that I am on a nice steep climb, but not so steep that I'm losing speed for it. One of our bots managed to crash somehow, I have no idea. Sadly, I couldn't get a footage with a game that didn't have bots in, so I just chose this one. So here I am, as I said earlier, scanning the horizon, just checking for any enemies before I enter the cloud layer. Once I enter there, I am obviously blind, and as you can see there, 2 enemies, quite low. They're going to be just below the clouds. I like to call them grasshoppers. So I'm just going to climb through the clouds, then do a brief check over again, see who's up here, see what's got to go down. Any high altitude fighting, I mean, I'm looking to avoid it. I don't really have the fuel to stall around in the air, just playing around with some pansy that can't fight like a man. So we're just going to go up and then start looking for targets to drop down on where we can save fuel as much as possible. This entire game is pretty much going to be played using the boom and zoom tactics. Not at 100% efficiency, but a variant of that. Here we are again in the virtual cockpit, just checking, pulling myself back down to that 20 degree climb, sorry. Just checking teammates' positionings again, looking for those hostiles that may be climbing up into the airspace. I do see the B-17 down low. I also see that there are 2 ME-163s already on him, so I'm quite reluctant to dive on this. However, I noticed that they both pull off quite early, and the B-17 is still alive. Now, on Berlin, it is crucial to get those bombers down as fast as possible. This doesn't mean that you should be going, bouncing off of the trees and stuff trying to hit them, because you typically do have heavy fighters or players that like to go low for the bombers specifically. But in this case, we didn't. The bombers were alive, so I had to start diving. I cut the engine to 0% and go into quite a steep dive here, noticing that the guys have now switched to the bot for the main part. There's one guy. So here we see the second guy coming in for a run on the B-17, but these things, they take a lot to take down. They're a flying fortress, quite literally. So, coming in on my run here, I get quite a nice lineup on him. He's not turned at all. Firing my tracking shells, a few shots to the right wing, and he's down. I'm using all of the energy, all of the velocity I've gained from that dive to go back up when I see the Tu-2. I have a damaged left wing, as you'll see on the heads-up display here. So I'm just wondering now whether it's worth me risking it, taking more damage and having to RTB early at such a crucial stage of the game where a lot of the plays are made. I decide that the risk is worth it. Tu-2s aren't necessarily scary. I begin to dive, cutting the engines again. However, this time I'm not gaining on him quite as much. My velocity is increasing. I'm picking up tons of energy here. The ME-163 failed to get his guns on target, so I'm just going to kick the engines in, crank them up to 27%, try and gain on the Tu-2. I've still got plenty of fuel left at this part of the game and 1 kill under my belt, so I don't really need to go overly aggressive here. You will notice now that I'm going to turn my engine up to 35% as the Tu-2 crashes, so I'm just going to put it straight back up to 100, go back into that nice steep climb, using all of that energy I've got and translating it into vertical altitude. Meteor behind me 9 clicks out, not much of a problem at all for me at this point. I don't have the altitude to fight him, and I'm just going to keep climbing, wait for my speed to drop to around 300 and then level out and choose my next target. We do see another B-17 there get lit up, so I'm going to turn for him right now. I'm going to start going on him. I know that the meteor is nowhere near me. I'm not really worried about that. I see a bot down there, but bots aren't all that deadly. So you're just going to see me trying to bleed off a little bit of speed, getting a good lineup and a good lead on the B-17, so that when I get down there, I'm going to have a good run on him before I have to turn. For anyone that's unfamiliar with boom and zoom tactics, the reason I like to line up before I go down is because if you turn on your descent, or when you reach the bottom of your descent, just before the climb, you are going to start losing speed. You're going to lose a lot of energy on that turn. And then that means that you're going to be able to climb to a much more shallow altitude, and it's going to mean that more efficient boom and zoom players are going to get the drop on you. So the B-17 died before I managed to get down there. So I just throttle back up, pull up, use that energy, and I see a Tempest. So I'm going to start moving over towards the Tempest this time. Again, fuel's looking alright, just under halfway on the fuel bar now. So I'm going to start diving, throttling back on the engine a little later than I possibly should have on this kill here, and it almost cost me my life, as you'll see in just a few seconds. I can't seem to get on target at that at all. I wasted a few shots unnecessarily, lost a bit of energy on the turning there, but it may have saved my life. I just have a narrow miss with the trees. Not quite as narrow as it could have been, but much more narrow than I would have liked. So again, using the energy, climbing back up. It's pretty much rinse and repeat with this fighter, especially since the fuel you have is so limited. You have to have your engines off when you're cruising or when you're diving, because otherwise you are just not going to be efficient. You're going to be able to maybe get one frag a game, one kill a game, maybe even only an assist, and then you're going to be out of fuel. You're going to be RTBing every 6 minutes. I managed to go an entire game here, and I'm very low on fuel by the end of it. You'll see here I'm checking the scoreboard just to check how many enemies are alive. I noticed that there are a few. So I'm just going to start checking around, seeing, you know, if I can see tracers or AAA fire or anything like that, just giving me a slight hint of where this last guy may be. And I'm stuck in a difficult situation here. I have to choose between going for the enemy or RTBing. I mean, I'm quite low on fuel. I really don't want to commit to going, you know, over to their airstrip if I can't get back, because I could take damage and have a lot more trouble building up energy. So I just choose I'm going to RTB. I'm going to check, you know, nearby surroundings, see if I can find this last guy. If I can, then it's great. I see the tracer fire, but he's just coming from AAA. Nothing important. So I'm approaching Alpha Point here. I prefer to land on Alpha myself as opposed to landing on the actual airstrip in Berlin. It's just much nicer. There's no buildings. You've got nice flat areas. It's much better for me. And I'm just going to start turning now. Turning just to lose all of that speed that I've got, because I don't want to come into land at, you know, 800 kilometers an hour. That would then make me into more of a literal rocket. I come out of this turn and realise that the last guy we were all looking for is actually right in front of me. So I'm decided at this point, you know, I'm right next to the airstrip. I'm just going to go for it. Why not? Worst case scenario, I run out of ammo and I go RTB and my team finish him. So I'm firing a few tracer shells there just to see where he is. I miss horribly, and I'm down to 48 ammo. I'm turning around, and I'm just going to try and get a nice run on him from behind, try and secure a second kill of the game, and hopefully mean that I make money in this. So, I'm just going to drop altitude so I don't need to lead quite as much. Firing those few shells off, and you'll see I hit and I take him down. The game ends here. Bingo, bango, bongo. We know how it goes here. The enemy run out of aircraft. I'm going to do a little celebratory 90-degree climb in a minute after I decide not to land. So guys, I hope that this was alright for you, and I hope you enjoy this style of commentary. For those of you that have seen my stream before, you'll know how I talk when I'm actually in-game. I actually had to stop streaming for this specifically, but if you guys prefer this style of commentary for videos, then I can keep making these. If you prefer commentating while I'm playing, I can do that as well. And also guys, if you like the video, do remember to like, favourite, subscribe and share, and leave comments. It all helps me out, guys. Thank you very much. Fly safe.